Hello YouTube, Edward here. It has been a while since I posted my last video, but I finally have had some time to make a new one. The last video was all about boring yet very useful tables, the most basic of all visualization techniques when making reports. This video will be an introduction to all the other visualization possibilities. And go get a cup of coffee, as there is a lot to talk about. When it comes to visualization techniques, there is a huge choice when you work with the Oracle BI suite. Some of them we all know and we use regularly. Some others I hardly use ever at all. And some of them are unknown to many, are widely underrated, and I hope to convince you to use them more often. You don't pick just one randomly though. They all have an intended usage, and they cannot be interchanged for each other just like that. I will highlight the intended usage for each of them. As most of them are added to a report in the same way, I will just discuss one of them in this episode in great detail, and will address most of the others in the next episode. I will use the pie chart to explain how most of these work. As always, I'm using Oracle Sales Cloud to build my reports, but don't forget that all of this is also applicable for solutions, Oracle or non-Oracle, who use the Oracle BI suite as a reporting engine. Let's start very basic. From the Sales CRM Customer Overview subject area, I chose the industry name and amongst the facts, the closed opportunity revenue. I just took two columns, as pie charts typically are used, or should be used, to compare dimensions relatively to one another, in the context of one fact. For instance, here I will try to see how the industries size up to one another, not showing the closed opportunity revenue data, but relatively to one another, using a percentage. We do not have to generate a percentage value though. We could, but the pie chart will do it for us automatically. As I mentioned in the previous episode on tables, always make sure your tables are verified before adding another visualization, as the table is the only format that does not aggregate data. Here I immediately spot an issue. Some of the industries have no closed opportunity revenue value, so I can filter them out. Go back to criteria and add a filter that says the closed opportunity revenue value should not be empty. So I use the not null filter. Let's have a look. That's already a lot better. And then there is the issue of some customers not having been assigned an industry yet. Let's get rid of them too. Back to criteria. And now let's add a filter on industry where we say that the industry value should not be empty either. That looks already a lot better. I'm going to build in one more safety. I'm going to make sure that even if the values would be 0, the industry is filtered out also. For this, I'm going to make sure that my closed opportunity revenue value is always greater than 0. Why would I do that? It didn't change anything, but you never know what will happen when end users start using the report. You should always prepare for the worst. Not for you, but for situations the end user can get himself into. Once the table is ready, the data verified, we are ready to aggregate the data. Adding a pie chart or any other visualization is really easy. They can all be found under Add a New View. Whether it is the performance style, the tree map, the different graphs, the stacked or unstacked bar charts, pie charts, everything is here. Let's just add a pie chart. And I'll just drag it next to my table as my screen is wider than its height. Let's break it down. What do we see? We have a title and a legend, the obvious things, and a pie with different slices. And the value of the slice is represented by the closed opportunity revenue value. When I hover over the slices, I see the industry name mentioned again, matching the color in the legend, the closed opportunity revenue value, but also a percentage. Now, before we go into details, here's one of the things that you need to know about pie charts. Pie charts should never have more than 3 or 4 slices. When you compare industries this way and try typically to find the biggest or the weakest one, for the human eye it becomes really difficult to find out what the biggest one is. For instance, if I would ask you what is the biggest one, this red one or the orange one, just by eyesight you wouldn't be able to see it anymore. Maybe a horizontal or a vertical bar chart would have been better here. Anyway, let's ignore this for a second and go into the details of how to build a pie chart. I'll go into edit mode. As with the tables, here we have a view where you see the results on top of what you designed down at the bottom of the screen. First and for all, there is one area where I can define which field values should be used. In this case, the closed opportunity revenue value. It will indicate the slice size. Industry is being used for the different slices themselves, and I have the option to hide or show the legend. There is the option to exclude fields in case you don't need them. But then there's also this one, a hint towards the option of having multiple pies. But for that I need to add some extra data to my table. So let's leave this for a moment. Go back to criteria and add a new field. In this case I will add the customer country. I now have an extra column for the country, and I have many more pies. Basically, I now have for every country one pie that shows how the industries size up to one another. Let's go back into edit mode. You'll see that country was used to define how many pies I would be making. But that's not the only reason why I brought in the customer country. There's something else I can do with it too. Like with tables, we can use with sections. In this case, I can add my customer country as a section, and I now have, just like with tables, for every of the countries, a pie. A fancy option that the table did not have was to show the sections as a slider. Now I only see one pie chart, but I have the option to run through the different countries one by gliding through the slider, or have the slider go automatically. Another option, just like with tables, is to use the customer country as a prompt field, whereby the end user can choose a country and the industry comparison for that particular country shows up. That's all there is to know to create a pie chart. And actually, this is valid for most of the visualizations we'll talk about in the next episode. Last thing to do, as always, is to make sure that the report looks good. In the last episode on tables, we discussed a million options, but for these visualizations, there's a lot less to do. There's a few key ones to know about though, so let's have a look. First and for all, we were looking to make a pie chart, not a table, so let's get rid of that. In case you add new fields or you want to change a pie chart, you can always bring it back by adding the view again. Make your changes. Once you're happy with the data, remove it again. Now let's have a look at the different other formatting options there are. Under View Properties, there is a handful that you need to know about. There is the option to size the pie chart, like if you want to put them on an infolet in Sales Cloud, you want to typically make them a lot smaller, maybe 150 by 150 pixels. We can position the legend, and we can specify whether or not we want to animate the graph buildup. Furthermore, we can do some styling to the legend, to the view itself, even some conditional formatting. But probably the nicest one of all is the option to put your pie chart in a 3D mode. Let's have a look. What else is there? Back into View Properties, let's have a look at titles and labels. First and for all, I have closed opportunity revenue in the title and at the bottom. Let's get rid of the title one. The last one that I want to mention is the possibility of formatting the data markers. The data markers are actually those things that you get to see when you hover over the different slices. I've been in situations where users did not want to hover over a slice in order to see the value. They wanted to see it all the time. For this, you go back into View Properties. Under Title and Labels, you open up the data marker formatting, and here you can specify when you want to see the data labels. Let's put it to always. There's some more options, go and check them out. But the result now is that the percentages are always visible. And that's it. That was the introduction to visualizations by having a closer look at what we can do with pie charts. Don't forget, these visualizations are important. They aggregate data, reducing the amount of information available to an end user so he can focus on what he's actually looking for. And their dramatic looks have a big impact. Big takeaway, make sure that you pick the right type of visualization, matching what you want to show to the end user. And for pie charts in particular, no more than 3 or 4 slices. I hope you like it. Let me know in the comments below, and I hope to see you soon for the next episode. Ciao.